On this episode, history teaches us one of the secrets to greatness. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Shape Up. Matt Dawkins here, and we like to start every episode the same, defining CrossFit, right? We believe that CrossFit is this beautiful collision between functional fitness and social life. We love it when fitness connects with social. Magic happens when fitness and social collide. And so that's what happens every day here at CrossFit Sacred Pine. That's what happens in the world of CrossFit. So we're celebrating that every single episode by helping to close the gap between what people know and what people don't know about CrossFit. And today we're talking about something special, and I'm going to use a story from history to help us understand this principle. And I'm just going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. The principle is that you never graduate from the fundamentals. That is a key to success. So we're going to go back to 1960 here, back to the Green Bay Packers in 1960. Back in 1960, the Packers were pretty good. They're all right now, but back then, they were very successful. In fact, in 1960, they managed to make their way all the way to the national championship, the championship game, as we call it, the Super Bowl now, right? The Super Bowl. And in that year, I believe they were faced off with the Philadelphia Eagles, and they held the lead all the way into the fourth quarter, but unfortunately, they lost it in the fourth quarter, 1960. And so you can imagine a lot of players kind of walking out of that season thinking, all right, what's the next level skill that I need to work on? Like, I need to focus on the more advanced techniques because they have some edge that we didn't, and we're not going to let this happen again. At the time, the Packers were coached by a gentleman named Vince Lombardi. Maybe you've heard of him. And Vince had something else in mind for the Packers, Training camp was about to begin the very next year, 1961, and Vince walks into the locker room and looks every player in the face, and he holds up a pigskin in his hand, and he said, "Gentlemen, this is a football." And in that he was setting a tone for the entire training camp. These guys were going to go back to the basics. They were going to go back to blocking and tackling. They were going to take the playbook and flip it to page 1 and begin from the very beginning. I think even at some point in training camp, one of the receivers speaks up and he says, "All right, coach, we need you to slow down. You're going too fast for some of us." And of course, they're being sarcastic because the players hadn't yet grasped this idea that going back to the fundamentals was going to create one of the greatest football teams that ever existed. But look at what happened in the very next year. The Packers have another successful season, but when they get to the playoffs and then to the championship, to the Super Bowl, I believe it was against the Giants that year, they shut the Giants out 37-0. I think in Vince's time, he won 7 or 8 championships, maybe 5 championships over the course of 7 or 8 years. Just a fantastic coach, and there's a reason that Vince Lombardi is a household name, and that's a big part of it because the Packers understood something very important back in their day, that the key to success and the key to greatness was becoming incredible at the basics, right? Not overlooking the basics to get to the advanced things, but realizing that if we would continue to come back to the basics and get really, really good at them, we could become great too, right? That's not just a principle in the NFL, that's a principle in fitness, and that's something I want to encourage you guys with now, is to recognize, look at your fitness game. I can tell you 2 things. You want to be great, you want to play a longer game, and you want to be great in 5 years, 10 years. The way you're going to do that is you're going to be consistent and focus on the basics. You're going to be consistent and you're going to focus on the basics. So in football, it was blocking and tackling, right? It was learning the plays. In fitness, it's mechanics. It's how well are you moving, right? Are you willing to go after that PR even if it means the way that you move doesn't matter? Because I promise you that's a short game. That's a very short game. That game won't last, right? The longer game is when we leave our ego at the door and we're not so caught up in the advanced techniques, but we can get lost in the basics, the fundamentals, the way that we move, because those are the things that are gonna matter in 20 and 30 years. So my challenge to you, leaving this video, is where have you gotten away from the fundamentals, right? What is the, gentlemen, this is a football. What is the basic thing that you need to get your mind back to and get there, go there? Promise you, 10 years from now, you will appreciate that you did that. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Shape Up. We'll see you on the next episode.